Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Riff Table Arcade. I'm 16-bit Jeff.
Get your quarters and let's get another round of gaming going. I'm Double RPG.
And nice to see you again this same time again, my good friend.
Same Game Riffer time, same Game Riffer channel. Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, we are one person short, as Jerry has other things going on in his life as of right now. But hopefully he'll be back in another episode.
Yes. But for this week, I think it's best that he's out of this topic because he's not heavily strong in this topic. But apparently I am.
You are. I know you are. I'm not that heavy. I'm not that big of a faithful server of this monopoly owner.
I wouldn't go that far. Thank you very much.
But yes, we're talking about Microsoft and their next-gen console, the Xbox One, which released back this Friday.
Yes. And you know what? It's kind of ironic. It's kind of ironic, but nice at the same time that they released it on the same exact launch of, I think, the 7th year anniversary of their last-gen console, the Xbox 360.
8th? Yeah, because it released in 2005. It was the first to release.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anyways, enough mucking around. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. That is the Xbox One.
So, yes, this is the third Xbox console put out by Microsoft, and the one to succeed the Xbox 360. And it seems to me like that Microsoft has been going into giving their new console an identity crisis by calling it the Xbox One. Because when you think of Xbox One, you would normally think of the first Xbox, which was released back in 2001. But now they're calling it the Xbox One again. It's like, where are you going with this? But, I could save that for another time, and I've, kind of mentioned that on many other things like the 40S podcast, but, this is not what we're here about. We're here to talk about its launch and talk about the pros and cons and, what games we possibly recommend or do not recommend or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. But to start off on a positive note, I gotta say, congrats Microsoft and the Xbox division team on releasing the console and selling 1 million units legally.
Mm-hmm.
That is a positive feat. I gotta admit that was really nice to see, especially a new generation just starting.
Oh, of course, and not to mention too that this company you actually managed to sell You managed to start off in 13 territories with this launch. Mm-hmm. And you managed to get 1 million units sold within those 13 territories. That's pretty impressive.
Again, the reason why we say legally because a couple days before the actual launch, thanks to Target making oops on their own parts, they launched their pre-orders early. So some lucky participants who pre-ordered a console through that chain got their units earlier.
Yeah, I was about to say if it was part of the Doritos or Mountain Dew promotion, I was like, oh no.
But yeah, let's talk about the system.
I gotta say, the system, it definitely reminds me of what the CDI looks like. The Philips CDI in its third gen model that basically looked like a VCR.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm kind of iffy about the bulkiness of the console that they decided to go for. I mean, it doesn't look like it has that sleek and unique design like the Xbox 360 had. It seems like they just taken a step back and tried to go back for how bulky the original Xbox was. But, it just doesn't seem like it's a console that gives off character. I mean, you just take a look at the Wii U and the PS4, they look, even though they look vastly different from their predecessors, at least they look very unique. I mean, especially the PS4. I mean, you never seen the PS4 actually shaped like an eraser now, would you?
Oh, no. No.
But, I mean, I guess it's really nice. I mean, with Microsoft consoles, they obviously go with the cheapest hardware, so they're not going to be that really durable with the plastic that they choose. But I guess you could say just taking a look at a third console standpoint from a third console, it actually is okay. I wouldn't say it's like the best design, but I'll say it's okay at best. Now, the controller, I can't really say that much, and I really can't say the same praise about the Xbox One controller. Now, I will say that it has a better D-pad than the Xbox 360, but it's just the thing is that it kind of, once again, it kind of goes back to, like, the bulkiness of the original Xbox controller. And that's one of the things that I had wrong with the original Xbox controller, was that it was too intricate. It was too big for people to grasp, and it's just like it kind of looked like what the not the TurboGrafx 16, but it kind of looked like what the Atari Jaguar controller was shaped like.
I can kind of see where you're coming from, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I really don't think it's that streamlined as the PS4's new controller, but I guess it's all right. But
yeah.
Now, Kinect 2.0, I mean, again, it's bulky than the original Kinect, but at the same time, it's really not, I guess you could say it's a nice add-on for the casuals, but for people who, like to game a whole lot, they really do not find it to be very necessary, because they really haven't utilized it that much in a good manner. I say that, and what I mean by that is, like, where the experience for the Kinect is necessary. I would say, like, Mass Effect 3 on the 360, with its Kinect voice commands, that was actually a necessary experience in case if you want to immerse yourself into the gameplay, Mm-hmm. But I really don't think the Kinect has really done that much to, motivate for anybody to actually use it. And people still say that the Kinect is a gimmick, and Microsoft's been heavily, just promoting the peripheral just up the wazoo ever since it came out back in 2010. But still, there hasn't been that big of appeal to the core side of gamers,
And also, the funny thing too about it is that with the new Kinect for the Xbox One, we've been hearing a lot of mixed responses with the actual peripheral, like from some streaming, from some streaming people, like from Video Games Awesome to even Boogie on YouTube, the guy who plays his character Francis.
Okay.
They say that it's good, but then you hear other conflicting reports, especially one from Rich, mostly known as Review Tech USA on YouTube, saying that's a piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's expected to happen, because let's be frank, this is a launch, and you're expected to have some really faulty units at launch. Mm-hmm. So honestly, we really don't know how well the actual peripheral is this time around until possibly around this time next year.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it did just launch, but at the same time, the console has been, just like the PS4, there are faulty consoles.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't even say which is worse, the PS4 or the Xbox One, in terms of the number of faulty consoles there is.
I would say the Xbox One.
Yeah, probably. But anyway,
man. The fact that numbers mostly due to what's going off the default, the faulty units. But we'll go into that later. That's not that big of an issue at the moment. But,
yeah. But anyway, Jeff, go ahead and give your 2 cents about the console itself.
At first, when he first announced it, I hated the name. I didn't understand where we were going. I thought including the Kinect was a really dumb idea. Mm-hmm. And granted, we didn't even know the price. We know it at E3. I knew this was going to be an expensive piece of hardware.
Uh-huh.
Even when we got to E3, I still thought the name was stupid. I did like some of the exclusives that they showed and promised that they were going to have a more diverse lineup. They did, unlike the first 2 go-rounds of the Xbox fam, the original back in 2002, and let's be honest, the Xbox One back in 2005, right?
2001 for the original Xbox and 2005 for the 360.
For the 360, yeah.
Yes.
So it's nice to see that they're trying to diversify their studios and trying to get out of that, slump that they put themselves in since the original Xbox back in 2001.
Uh-huh.
But I'm kind of worried that it's too late for them. I hate to say that and be that negative, but I'm really look. What I'm getting at, I'm hoping this is not their. I'm hoping that the Xbox One is not the equivalent to what happened with the PS3. You know what I mean? I'm praying to God. You know what I mean? But going back, what I was trying to say is that like I didn't start liking it until I heard more of the positive response that the company made. Like they heard that we didn't want this console to be always online. You know, all the redactions that they made. I gotta say, at first when they did it, I thought it was a stupid move, but at least they did the right thing and redacted it and said, you know, this was a stupid idea. We're not there yet. We would like to do this in the near future, but at the moment we can't. So we're gonna take this away. Thank you for sending us your feedback. This was wrong on our part. We want to make you guys happy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that at least a company does that. You know what I mean?
Right.
How do I feel about now?
Mm-hmm.
I still think the Kinect. I'm hoping that it's a better peripheral than what the original version was. Because I do see potential in the Kinect. Like, out of all of the massive amount of, you know, interactions we had in regards to VR, I can see that being the more unique approach. However, like you stated earlier, we haven't seen that one game that has utilized Kinect properly. We've had seen it a little bit with last year's Mass Effect 3.
Yes.
We really haven't had that game, that killer app that needs to go, I need to connect. But what I'm getting at is this. I think it was a bad move on Microsoft's end that they released and actually included the Kinect in the full package. Because finding out that's the main reason why it's at $500, $499 plus tax, that was a bad move on them, and I think they're going to lose some units. You know, the revenue rise. But like I said earlier, I'm really hoping that they have a better job and they get out of the slump that they've been in since, let's be frank, the first Xbox. But that's what my basic thought of the Xbox One is so far. I like the idea. I think it's a good idea that there's a console that is an all-in-one system. I do like that. But the problem is at the same time that you have different divisions inside of Microsoft that, you know, there's not really that one focus. Like, I would prefer that if it was mainly focused on gaming, but also focused on, you know, have those divisions streamlined, you know what I mean? Not mix and match, not like this one's more important than the other, you know what I mean? Not make it a big cluster, and that's why I'm feeling at the moment that the Xbox One is. I'm not saying about its user interface, I'm just saying about the package as a whole, how they're advertising the package itself.
Right.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like, I like the idea, I like that it's a unit itself that is an all-in-one console. I like that idea, but it's just, I need to see more of that. And that's what I'm basically getting at. Yeah. Okay.
Now, let's go. Did we talk about the positives, or are we now going on to the negatives, or whatever?
I think it was a little bit more of. I think it was a little bit of both. So.
Okay. So let's talk about some improvements that the Xbox One is going to need for within 2014. You want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think one that needs to be mandatory. They announced a new bundle that does not include the Kinect, and if they could, I know this is too soon, but try to find a way to release a slim version of the Xbox One. And for God's sakes, try to knock that mini unit down as close as possible to as the PS4 version is.
Yeah. Because,
you know, when people see, especially when Black Friday is coming out very soon this week.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be parents that are going to say, like, should I get little Jimmy and little Janie an Xbox One or PS4? They're going to go to their local Target, or their local Best Buy, or even the local Walmart and see, like, the price differences. They're not going to care about the specs. They don't care about the graphics. They don't care about the games. They care about the price itself. And, you know, that parent, especially in the economy we're still in these days, yes, it's better, but we're still lacking in that, you know, revenue that, you know, they're going to go more towards the, you know, the cheaper one, i.e. the PlayStation 4.
Or probably the Wii U.
That too. I've read those two consoles. That's what I'm getting at. I've read those two consoles over the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I would say that they need to work on. I see that I was really afraid of the UI itself because mainly it's based off of Windows 8, and I despise Windows 8.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to see that's, it's not a complete cluster as I originally feared it was. It's actually, streamlined. It actually works quite well, to be honest. However, if there's one thing I was kind of disappointed to hear was right off the bat, no Twitch integration at launch. However, Major Nelson, Larry Erb himself said that they are working their hardest to get it out as soon as possible. And to be quite honest, I do like the Twitch app on the Xbox One more than I do on PlayStation 4. For what it is on PlayStation 4, it looks really good and it works really good.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at the Xbox One, you get more a choice of what features, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, yeah, I do like the integration with the Xbox One a little bit more over the PS4, but I can wait. It's not that big of a deal. But that's it. It's like a little slim on my end. I'd like to hear your things that they have to work on.
So, what do I believe that Microsoft needs to do in order to improve over the next year? Well, for starters, I would say that they would need to repackage their console in a new bundle, but they need to get rid of the Kinect, obviously, because I still find it, and most people like you and me, they still find it to be an optional device. It really hasn't been properly utilized to where it becomes mandatory for its games, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I feel that that's one of the reasons why the console is at a high price is because its inclusion with the Kinect, and taking that off may actually cut the price a little bit, so that way it can be affordable for anybody who wants to buy one.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I feel that there are some things that I would say that Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo need to do is that they need to not try to rush a console to its launch unless there is that killer app that comes with the system. Like, for Nintendo, I think they finally have, their set of killer apps for the system already released. For Sony and Microsoft, I can't really see there being one true game that will justify a purchase. I guess for Xbox One's case, maybe either Dead Rising 3 or the new Killer Instinct game, but that's just not saying a whole lot at the moment, No,
that's true.
And it's just that it needs to come to that point where developers need to make sure that they actually have their games ready for launch in order to, secure units right away and secure a big following and continue to have that slew of games in development in the long run, within every year, and not to be in that heavy drought like what Nintendo was back, during this year, like around the beginning.
Not all of that, but it's funny bringing this up because we were like this last week too when we were talking about how disappointed we were, not only in the delay of Watch Dogs, which was supposed to come out for the Xbox Ones around the launch too, but more importantly, its big exclusive Drive Club, which you can still see in its advertising campaign. It's just. Mm-hmm. You bring up the really good point. It's not only Microsoft; it's all the big three that need to focus and realize, when we release the next gen console, we need to put all our chips onto said table. They need to have everything perfect.
Yes,
or to some degree, close enough.
Mm-hmm. And also, they really need to streamline the not just the console's design, but also the controller's design, because as I said, I feel that both the controller and the console, they are a step back in terms of, making it sleek and compact for a new generation or whatever. I mean, it's okay that they try out new designs for a new console, but don't try to take a step back with what people kind of disliked about, a console previous to the last one,
Right.
Because when you take a look at the Xbox 360, that is the successor to the original Xbox, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But this console, I can't, say that it does the same justice. So they're literally going to have to do something in the long run to get that fixed if they want to make sure that the consumer actually would want to buy it. So that way it's not taking up a whole lot of space and whatnot. And also, not to mention, too, that I would say that some of the features within the console, I know that Microsoft's trying to market the system as an entertainment device mostly and not just a gaming console, but I still question some of the things they made with the system because, when you take a look at the Xbox, it's still primarily just a gaming console or a gaming platform, and that's where people are mostly going to go to play their games on, is, names that are really big in this day and age that are attached to hardware that they give off those experiences from. When people think of PlayStation, they think of games. When they think of Nintendo, they think of games. When they think of Xbox, or when they think of Xbox, they think of games. But, when they think of Microsoft, it's just like, yeah, I mean, they're a computer company and an entertainment company. Maybe they should have just called it a Microsoft system, or, they should have just rebranded it as something else if they wanted to go for an entertainment device. But for a gaming console, no, you don't do that. That sort of creates an identity crisis, and not to mention some of the things in the system as of right now, like it's stuff like within the entertainment side of things. And I know that Rich from Review Tech USA even brought this up as well, is that, with the TV stuff that they have, it's really, I really feel that's not very necessary, because there are a lot of people, when people watch TV in this day and age, they actually like to stream it online and see it on, like, either Hulu, Crackle, either YouTube or a show's main website, or even on, like, iTunes, or even some of those, both the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade, they actually like to view the streaming services off there as well. They like to download the episodes and then just stream them off their PlayStation or their Xbox consoles. But seriously, it's just like, why do we need all these to be like just as equally as important as the gaming side of things? Because it's the gaming side of things that should be more important over everything else. But everything that they're offering within the Xbox One in terms of the entertainment value, it's just like, it's like you either have to pick with one side, or you're just going to have to rebrand the console as a different name. I know a lot of people like to say that they want to see Nintendo rebrand the Wii U into a different name, but I really think the Xbox One, if this is what Microsoft's going for, they really need to change their image of how they're trying to market the system.
At least they got one figuring out the controller, the D-pad.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God, the D-pad.
Yeah, much bigger improvement, but again, I just feel that that's the only redeeming value with the controller right now. In my personal opinion, because I know some people, when they're setting up their Xbox console, is that they've actually experienced some bugs with some, installation breaking bugs or system breaking bugs, which would lead to brick their systems. Like, for example, like them trying to use the buttons on the Xbox controller to try to, set up the systems process, or I guess you could say the calibration or whatever. Doesn't even work.
It's kind of funny you bring that up, because both Fraser from Video Games Awesome and Ghost Robo on YouTube, they both brought the same thing, that it, unlike with the 360, where it felt seamless that once you synced your controller to your console, it was that quick. With this time around, the Xbox One going to the Xbox One's new controller, it takes a really long time, like not big, fast chunk of time, but it's really slower than what it was last generation. That's what I'm just basically getting at.
Mm-hmm. And also, Microsoft really needs to improve the architecture. I mean, especially with trying to make their... I mean, that some games like Dead Rising 3, they cannot get it to native 1080p. They can only get to 720p, right? Mm-hmm. You figure with the console new, they would be able to achieve that format, but nope, there's still some games... I mean, there's a lot of their games in their, launch library that run at 720p. I mean, when you take a look at the PS4, as of right now, there's games that can run in native 1080p over the Xbox One. So, it's like both But at the same time, and with games in 1080p, it costs a lot of money. But at the same time, it's like, if your competitor can do this now, then why can't you do it?
I get where you're coming from because I remember when Phil Spencer, former Sony and now the head over at Microsoft Studios, he said, we're putting $1 billion towards games. Just like, if you are, then why are we seeing subpar resolution for an next-gen console? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think it's mostly due to the fact that there's supposed limitations inside the hardware. So that's possibly why that we don't have, 1080p right out of the box. I think we will later down the road. At the moment, I think that's the reason why, because there's something of a limitation inside the console that we don't know of so far.
Well, yeah, it's possible, but it's just still at the same time, it's like, if your competitor, Sony, who you've been strongly competing with since the days of either the PlayStation 2 or the PS3, if they can do something as of right now, it's like it should be at the point where you should still have that same feat.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Like, I can understand where it come from, because, like, I'm not that upset, because I think I understand why they're having issues, because, let's face it, this is the first time that Microsoft is really using not only the technology of Blu-ray, but Blu-ray HDD. I think they never had that experience before, so maybe they went out blindly and said, it's gonna be fine, it's fine, and all these, issues that we were talking about earlier with hearing that, that these hard disks can, screw up the console's games, or even destroy the game's disks. Mm-hmm. I felt bad for those day one users. I really do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad that my PS4 is working, that yours and Rich from ReviewTech USA's are still working. And
even Jerry, and even K-Wing.
Exactly. It's a good thing you brought those two up, but it's true. It's just like, it's great that Sony made the right decision and not made another botched attempt like they did the PlayStation 3's launch. Mm-hmm. But what I'm seeing right now, and this is really sad to say, just from a person who likes all three, like you and the others, that I hate to say this, but I think Microsoft is going to be this generation Sony.
This generation Sony from last generation, obviously.
Exactly. Like, what we saw at the PS3, that's going to be the Xbox One this time around. I'm hoping not as long as what happened to PS3, because let's face facts. The PS3, it didn't have a good start. In fact, it was not until like 2.5 years later its launch that we're starting getting better, right? Mm-hmm. I'm praying to God it doesn't take that long. I'm hoping at least a year and a half at best.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I really feel bad for those day one users, and this is why I don't go into launch, get a new console. But at the same time, and I don't know if I brought this up, but the reason why I usually try to get a console at launch, and then ironically enough, the first time I did a console wasn't a home console, but it was a portable, and that was the PlayStation Vita. But I don't get it for the games. I get it because I'm intrigued at what the UI looks like. I care more about the hardware and the supposed new tech that's inside the box, rather than the, let's face facts, the games, so-called games. They're really tech demos that can show the UIs of what this new hardware is capable of. Mm-hmm. I care more about the hardware itself than software at launch. However, I know there are people that were stoked to play Killer Instinct, that they were stoked to play NBA, FIFA, Madden. Granted, they were third-party games, but still, they were psyched to play it on their choice of console. And hearing something like this drastic happening at launch, and it's affecting a lot more consoles than their competitor, that's really heartbreaking, and it really sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Like, that's the thing I'm just shocked more about, just like hearing like how these defaulty. It's not going on to the hardware too. It's also going to other set of hardware too with the Kinect. Like, I remember watching it's not funny going back to it, but Video Games Awesome, when they did their live stream for the Xbox One launch, they got their first console from Best Buy. It worked fine until they connect the Kinect. That sounds redundant, but you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, they hooked up the Kinect.
Yeah, thank you. But when they hooked up to the Kinect, it did not even work. So two of them, while they were still doing the stream, they had to go back to Best Buy, get a brand new Xbox, the whole box itself, just for another Kinect unit for a tour.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, since Microsoft was late to announce their new console this year, I feel that they probably rushed their system out more so than their competitors did.
And that's the funny thing. You think they wouldn't, because granted they were late.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, they announced theirs, I think probably because they announced it like, yeah, granted, Sony had a lot of road ahead of them. Like, it was smooth sailing for them because they announced their console way back in February this year. But for the sake of, you know, PR, I thought Microsoft did a good move on their term too. Like, announcing their console a week before, it was either a week or two before the big show, which is E3 in June.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good move, honestly, on their part. But I get where you're coming from. When you really look at the whole gist of the issue, I do think that the early adopters were screwed, like how the early adopters through the Taco Bell sweepstakes for Sony's PlayStation 4s were screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, unlike the PlayStation 4, there was a lot more of those bad batches with the Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. Like,
it does.
But here's the thing. I understand why but here's the thing. There's supposed to be gamers out there that test this stuff, so this stuff won't happen in future units. Does it suck? Yes. Does it suck that we're guinea pigs in some ways? Yes. I'm not trying to be, you know. I'm not trying to be.
Oh, of course. I can understand where you're coming from.
Where I'm coming from. It's
yes.
Like, we need the industry uses us. Not in the right tone, but in some ways they do, because they want to know what is wrong with the console, even at launch, so they can fix it, hopefully by 3 to 4 months in advance, so the next batch that comes out after the holiday seasons at least is a better unit. It doesn't have those, you know, clunky mess-up issues that they once had.
Right.
But yeah, it's just, you know, I was really hoping that Microsoft was going to have a streamlined launch, just like the Sony did with their PlayStation 4 launch the week prior. But it sucks to find out that, yeah, while they sold buttloads of the units, that they got as much as revenue that Sony did, which I'm really surprised because a lot of the backlash that the console version got way early this year.
Yeah.
It still sucks to hear that there were more units defunct than with their competitor. Both competitors, I'm mad at.
Yes. And also, one last thing before I close off my end of the, you know, with the improvements, is that I honestly believe that Microsoft, if they, I know Microsoft said that they, you know, say that Japan is a really integral part with their gaming, you know? But, you know, you've seen how not highly receptive that Japanese gamers have been towards the system, right?
I understand where you're coming from, yeah.
So I really think it has to come to this point where Microsoft, I would say they need to change their image.
Basically, you think this is their last go for Japan users, basically, huh?
Well, yeah, because when you take a look at the Xbox unit itself in Japan, I mean, sales-wise, they haven't really been that very impressive. I mean, for the Xbox 360, the total amount of sales that they managed to achieve in its lifetime was like over 1 million at best, and that's piss poor. Because the console itself, it markets itself more as a Western system instead of being diversified for all territories, like what Nintendo and Sony goes for. Microsoft still likes to think that their systems are for the bro shooters, or the bro dudes, or the sports players, and the games where you can actually pick up a gun and shoot at people.
Which is sad that it has that, you know, image, because it really doesn't when you look at their lineup. Yeah, they're consistent more shooters, but they at least tried. They really try hard with both iterations of the first two of the Xbox lineage. That's debatable. I really can't say, but at least I can see that they tried somewhat. A little bit more, at least, the 360 era.
Well, yeah, because I know there was there was actually a few games that actually managed, well, actually one in particular that actually managed to sell the Xbox console, and that was Tales of Vesperia, and that's saying a lot right there, because that was one of the games I know that managed to push units of the Xbox One over in Japan. I mean, the Xbox 360, excuse me.
And ironically enough, the reason why I got an Xbox One, not at launch, but there were two games. One from a beloved British developer, well, let me rephrase that, once beloved, now just, I had to say a shout out their farmers.
Oh, you mean Lionhead?
Elf, and the other was from, no. And the other from Field Plus, but really was done by, Hironobu Sakaguchi's new studio.
Oh, Lost Odyssey, you mean?
Lost Odyssey, and the other being Perfect Dark Zero. I was talking about Rare. So,
yeah. Oh,
but,
yeah,
Rare. Those were the two games that really said, okay, I need to get an Xbox One now. I mean, Xbox 360. God damn it, Microsoft. But it's just like, those were the games that's like, okay, I need this console now. These are games I really care about. And that's the sad thing I can say at this moment, that, there's games I want to play, like Dead Rising 3. I really want to play Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
But there's two games. And my philosophy is this. If there's only one or two games that pique my interest, and the rest doesn't, then I don't see the justification of buying a console at launch. The reason why I bought a PS4 at launch wasn't the fact of because the lineup was better. Oh no, the lineup wasn't good. I would definitely say, from my perspective, I do think the Xbox One has a more diversified launch at best, to be honest.
Right.
But the reason why I want the PS4, because I was really curious on what Sony's hardware was this time around, especially with what they did with the PlayStation 3. That's the main reason why. It was nothing to do with the software. It was mostly to do with the hardware in general. Right. Like I went back to what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, it's like I agree with you. Like, and I really want to believe that Phil Spencer, like, it's kind of funny because I read something, I can't remember what the article was, but he did say that it sounds like from Phil's side, it sounds like they're really serious this time around, that they even have their own, their own base studio inside of Osaka, I think it's in, and they are making really AAA titles from those respected developers and, publications from that side. That hopefully this time around that they really does shine. I don't think it's gonna be in the same niche, beloved side that we see from Sony and both Nintendo, but at least it's a start. I'm hoping that at least.
Well, yeah, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see this generation if they actually do manage to deliver on their promise on that, because if they don't, then this is really going to be a bad step, especially when you have that one guy from Microsoft who wants to sell off the Xbox division.
That's a good thing too, but that's another topic for another time, and especially if we get to around this time next year and we see that the same old, it's also a topic of, if they lost Japan, can they still survive as a brand, not only in the UK/European district and here in the United States. That's a good topic, but we'll save that for later. Right now, I think it's best to talk about the main focus on these new consoles, whether it's the PS4, Wii U, or even one we're talking about right now, Xbox One. That's the launch titles.
I would say, in terms of its launch titles and the ones that are exclusive, I still say Dead Rising 3 and Killer Instinct.
Agreed. Like, I'll say this, Rise looks like a really beautiful tech demo. Like, in all honesty, I can see where
Crytek?
The developer Crytek was going for. They were trying to make the Xbox variation of God of War. They were trying to make their version of God of War for Microsoft. However, it's kind of ironic that in some ways both Rise and Killzone share something uniquely similar. They're pretty games, but lack in substance when it comes to gameplay. In others, they're just pretty tech demos that are $60.
Yes.
And look, I'm not trying to say this as to be snarky about this whole topic, but it's the truth. It's just like, and I before we even start recording this topic episode, even before we started, I told you that I was going to trade in Killzone because, while I like the multiplayer, I did not have fun with the single player. Like, there are some points to that story that was great, but at times were both lackluster and long-winded.
Yeah.
But that's on Sony's end. Microsoft, like I said with Rise, looks beautiful. I mean, what they did, even for a launch title, I am really impressed. Even if it's at 720, I could care less. I could care less about resolution. If I can get games like this for next gen, that's the only thing I care about personally. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that if there are two games that I highly recommend picking up, is definitely Dead Rising 3, and especially Killer Instinct. And I gotta say, I got hands of Double Helix because I remember when we first saw the game, debut at E3 this year. A lot of us, and especially a lot of us that grew up with KI back in '95.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Super NES version or the original arcade machine, were highly skeptical. Mainly because of the developer that was behind it, which was Double Helix. And I gotta say it right here, right now. You know that old saying, never judge a book by its cover?
Yes.
Perfect example right there. Killer Instinct, with that original sentiment, is a perfect example in regards to Killer Instinct. Well, yeah, Double Helix has made a lot of bad tie-in movie-based games. With this game right here, it shows that when you have a development team that is just concentrating on what they're doing and are actually fans of the property, they can do some bang-up stuff. And I gotta applaud the team over at not only Double Helix but also at Rare. They really did a good job.
Yeah, but yes, but one of the things I was actually kind of very skeptical about was them porting the arcade version of the original Killer Instinct to that game.
I know why, because in the attract mode you see coming soon to Ultra 64.
Well, not only that, but I do remember seeing like some references to Nintendo, like either logo, arcade machines, or even some things from the Super Nintendo and N64 actually making an appearance within that game.
I'm kind of curious if the Midway logo is still on there. To be honest, just out of curiosity. But yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny in some ways that we're in the same mindset.
But anyway. Yeah, but anyway, that's all I can think of on my end, and I think it'd probably be a good time where we can go ahead and we can wrap up this episode. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
So, I think our wrap-up should be, from our perspective, when in the honest likelihood do the both of us think we will get an Xbox One?
That's hard to say. There has to be a really good killer app for me to convince me to actually purchase one, because there are some that I actually do want to purchase in the long run, but they're also coming out on PS4, and that's Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3, so it's like, what's the point? But
and I can understand why too, because not Final Fantasy, but with Kingdom Hearts, that originally started as a Sony exclusive. So I can understand why you would stick with the Sony preference. That is highly understandable. And I can understand why. Like, you're also still afraid because of the unit itself still, like, being a little bit botchy and a little bit derpy. I understand. That's completely understandable.
Yeah.
I actually thought about this, too. Even at its midnight launch, I wasn't there at launch, but, like, at home I was thinking, like, when's the closest? Because I was thinking, like, maybe I should get one in April, maybe I should get one in May. And I thought about it. It's just like, I actually did some calculation, and I looked at, like, how much I would get for my job, and you know what?
What?
I saw that, a game that, like you just described, that is a killer app to me. Titanfall? It's coming out a week before my birthday. I was like, you know what? That's coming out a week before my birthday? I'll get one on my birthday.
Yeah, it's just it's just Microsoft's gonna, and I'm really sorry, Jeff. I wish I could be in the same boat as you, but it's just, I really need to be convinced that Microsoft does have a game on themselves that actually makes me want to buy the system.
No, I know, but just for me, it's like, when you put a mech in a game, that's an instant buy for me. That's how I am. I'm sorry about I was born that way. I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
And it's just like I'm getting that itch too, and it's kind of ironic that I actually watched Maximilian, who is also who's known for doing a lot of great content on YouTube, mostly for both Assist Me and his second YouTube channel, which is Yo Video Games. Mm-hmm. He actually did a stream last night, really late, like around like 3 or 4 in the morning. I watched it, and it's just like, I want to play this so bad, but that $500 attack.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting at it, just like, oh, this is the K I remember when I was a kid, but that $500 attack.
Yep.
But it's just like, yeah, I'm glad that Microsoft, yeah, they're having a lot of issues. I can't say if it's as bad or worse than what happened years ago with their launch at the 360.
Mm-hmm.
But at least there was at least a little bit more positive this time around than flat out negativity. That's at least a starting step for them, at least as a company. So there's some positivity at least this time around, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, any closing thoughts you want to give off also?
Closing thoughts. I'm glad that in some ways, financial-wise, that it was really a successful launch for Xbox. For the Xbox team and Microsoft as a whole. I am highly impressed with how much they sold. 1 million units in one day. That is impressive. Mm-hmm. And we just saw that a week prior with Sony with their PlayStation 4 console. So that's really impressive that these people, us gamers, were really waiting and accepting the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad that this next generation circle is finally mended. What started with Nintendo has finally ended with Microsoft. At least we're in this next gen, and I really am hoping this time around it's for the better. But going back to Microsoft, I'm glad it did. I'm glad they did a bang up job revenue-wise. I feel so bad for not only the team, not only for Microsoft as a whole, but the die-hard Xbox fans, the day one people that were there at launch, waiting in the cold at midnight, getting their unit, going home and find out that it's not even working, and even worse, that the faulty piece may be the hardware itself with the HDD.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Man.
Like, I'm glad at least this time around there's still like a little glimmer of hope,
mm-hmm.
at least. But again, with hardware, it's just, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm getting as this. It's having just as bad. It's not having as those words as a launch that the 360 had.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like the same as was when the 360 originally launched 8 years ago. I'm hoping that this time around next year, they are in a better job, and I cannot wait to see what they show at E3 this year.
Yeah.
Not only this year, but something that they will definitely be doing this coming Saturday, the 7th, which is the Spike TV VGX.
Yep. We'll have to see
closing.
Yeah, we'll have to see what comes out of Microsoft or from third parties then.
But enough about me. I would like to hear about your final thoughts.
I can't really think of anything, but I will say this, Microsoft, good luck, and I hope that you actually take some of our thoughts into consideration, even though you probably may not listen to us, but but I'm just saying that we just hope that you don't repeat any of the same mistakes you made, and hopefully your console will actually become a thing that not only is, better than the last, but one that's mostly diversified like your competition is. So here's to you, and hopefully for this generation, there will be that one killer app that will have you convince me to actually purchase a system. But yes, good luck, and good gaming, Microsoft.
Mm-hmm. And to wrap up, and that was our wrap up of this topic for Xbox One. In the long haul, we're impressed in some ways that they are a better stepping stone than they were last generation.
Mm-hmm.
But we honestly feel like that this is going to be another repeat session of what we saw at the 360 last gen, sadly.
Yeah.
As for me, I'm 16-bit Jeff.
I'm Double RPG.
You can plug it on our end.
No plugs. Except I'm gonna be start live streaming sometime pretty soon.
Well, it's good to know.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to set up a good time and set up, trying to work out the streaming at first before I can actually get started with it.
Of course, that's understandable. On my end, you can follow me on Twitter at 16bitjeff. You can check out our stuff, what you're listening to right now, as always, on youtube.com/thegamerverse.
Yes.
As for scheduling wise in regards to future and current episodes of the Riff Table Arcade, we usually record every Wednesday and we try to post it around the weekend at best. Sunday, either Sunday or Monday.
Yes.
And also, like I stated earlier, myself, Jerry, and possibly Kyle will be doing our usual annual Spike TV VGA riff that we do each and every year. But more details will be announced later in the month, so expect that to be announced in the near future.
Okay.
Until then, we'll see you next time on Riff Table Arcade. I'm 16-Bit Jeff.
And I'm Double RPG saying goodbye, good night, and good gaming, gamers.
Later.
Oh yeah, I forgot what it was, but I now remember. Godspeed and game on, gamers. Laters.
See you next time.